There are a ton of great games releasing in the next month, and we try to keep everybody informed of gameranx. So, hi folks, it's Falcon, and today on gameranx, new games you need to give some attention to in October of 2021. Starting off at number 10, it is Hell Let Loose. We've actually talked a little bit about this game elsewhere. You can currently get it on PC. It's coming to the next generation consoles. It's a pretty intense first-person shooter set in World War II with 100-player battles, with a real-time strategy game kind of built over it. It's hard to describe, but it's a really good integration of two completely different types of games. Visually speaking, it is an impressive title. You really sort of feel the scale of the places you're in, even when they're kind of empty fields. Just the variance and texture really does a good job, and the 50 versus 50 multiplayer battles that take place in these battlefields are really good. There's also 9 big maps, and they're consistently adding them to the PC version. Hell Let Loose is going to be a hell of a lot of fun on the PS5 and the Xbox Series X when it lands October 5th. At number 9 is Metroid Dread, a game that was like semi-teased as a joke a long time ago. Metroid Dread has a long and varied history, but it is finally coming out as a brand new 2D side-scrolling game set after Metroid Fusion. Basically what happened, the team behind Metroid Samus Returns impressed the Metroid producer, and they were tasked with doing the Metroid Dread project. Essentially, it looks to continue most of the stuff that we really liked from Metroid Samus Returns, but being it's the first side-scrolling Metroid game since Fusion, it does continue that, but it also adds some new ideas, including stealth. Considering that Metroid Samus Returns added a few features itself, despite being a remake, these are developers that at this point I really trust with the series and hope that they get to do a number of 2D entries in the future. This looks great. I'm excited for Metroid Dread. It's coming to the Nintendo Switch on October 8th. At number 8, it's FIFA 22. Now, obviously, FIFA is one of the longest running series in video games, and for the most part, we know what to expect with FIFA. Now, that being said, there are some pretty interesting additions, particularly in the PS5 and Xbox Series X versions. We're seeing something called hypermotion technology, which is a new way of analyzing real human motion in order to make the game look and feel more realistic. There are also mechanical changes as well. In career mode, you can actually create a team at this point, which is a welcome addition, to be honest. You could only take over teams in previous titles, and frankly, that's fun. I like that. They're also adding some new moves and mechanics to the Volta modes, which will add special abilities, and they sound like they could be fun. Like there's an aggressive tackle ability, and they've also added something called Volta Arcade, which includes some online minigame modes. FIFA 22 is landing on PC, PS5, Xbox Series X, PS4, and Xbox One October 1st. At number 7 is the Dark Pictures Anthology House of Ashes, a game that very obviously is part of the Dark Pictures Anthology, which comes to us from Supermassive Games, the developers of Until Dawn, which is the type of game this is, a survival horror interactive drama that follows in the footsteps of Man of Medan and Little Hope. This is a really interesting title. It takes place in 2003 in the Iraq War, and the players get trapped in an underground Mesopotamian temple, which the war, bombs going off, fighting, etc., has awoken monsters, which obviously reside in the temple. In terms of gameplay mechanics, at this point you basically know what you're getting from these types of games, but they do a really good job telling stories, and I think that the setup is familiar enough, and yet the setting itself is radically different, that depending on how they tell this story, it could feel like a very different game, without abandoning any of the principles that the Dark Pictures Anthology has set forward. I've certainly enjoyed these games up till this point, and I'm looking forward to playing this one. It's coming to PC, the PlayStations, and the Xboxes on October 22nd. At number 6 is Mario Party Superstars, a game that for people and birds of prey my age is going to be particularly fun. Obviously, people of all ages love Mario Party, and it's the latest entry into that series, but it brings us back to a bunch of remade maps back from the Nintendo 64 era of the series, as well as 100 remade minigames from all across the entire series. So this is a game built on the previous game, Super Mario Party, adds Birdo back into the playable roster, and gives us such boards as Peach's Birthday Cake and Spaceland from Mario Party 2, also Horrorland from that game, Yoshi's Tropical Island from the original Mario Party, and Woody Woods from Mario Party 3. Honestly, I just love Mario Party. It's a fun group game to play with your family, with your friends. It's just a good activity, and being able to replay a lot of the older types of stuff from it, of course with added events, I think is gonna be enjoyable. I'm definitely picking it up when it hits Switch on October 29th. At number 5 is Riders Republic, which is a pretty ambitious sports game from Ubisoft. They've built it a massively multiplayer sports game. The idea is that you'll be racing at any given time against more than 50 players. You're going to be competing in skiing, snowboarding, mountain biking, rocket wingsuiting, and other wingsuit flying as well. There's also competitive 6v6 tricks battle arena, which is oriented along those same sports with different sort of freestyle tricking. I don't know, it looks like a really interesting game, and if they pull it off and all of these different modes are actually fun, that's really going to be cool. As with all very ambitious games with a ton of different things going on, it could potentially be terrible too, but I mean, it looks interesting enough to at least give it the attention, give it a shot, and hope for the best. The team that developed this was behind Steep, which was a pretty well-received game, which also had several different types of sports. It's kind of a rudimentary version of this. It looks like they've built out a lot from the original idea to make it massively multiplayer, and honestly, I have fairly high hopes for this one. It's landing on PC, the PlayStations, and the Xboxes October 28th. And number 4 is Marvel's Guardians of the Galaxy, an attempt basically to say, hey, we get what was wrong with Marvel's The Avengers, we're not doing any of that. Here's the problem with Marvel's Avengers for me. A lot of the combat and stuff actually is pretty good. I liked it. I just didn't like any aspect of the game beyond that. The live service is crap, the semi-online confusing nonsense. It just needed to be a single player game, have a story, have a finite ending, and be done. That's what Guardians of the Galaxy is. So, it's interesting I still have a little bit of reservations for this, considering they took on that feedback so specifically. I think it's kind of that it's so soon after the previous game. Like, clearly Guardians of the Galaxy was being developed at the same time. So did they revamp it a lot during the later stages of development? Or was it always meant to be this game? I don't know. There are a lot of unanswered questions, in my opinion, that if they pull it off, I'm going to be really, really stoked by, because Avengers could have been really good and just got in its own way at every turn. A single player Guardians of the Galaxy game that takes on all of those problems and attempts to put something forward that works could be fantastic, and I have my fingers crossed. We'll see when it lands on PC, the PlayStations, the Xboxes, and Switch on October 26th. And number 3 is Back 4 Blood, and of course, we are all anxiously awaiting this. It is essentially the new Left 4 Dead game. The developers of Left 4 Dead haven't been able to make a new game in the series because Valve owns it for quite a while, and they were like, you know what, we're just gonna do it. This is exciting because these guys created such a great series in Left 4 Dead. It is such a shame that aside from DLC and updates, there hasn't been a new entry in such a long time. Back 4 Blood is exactly that, a fully new next-gen looking game that is Left 4 Dead. There's not really anything else to say about it. It's Left 4 Dead. They've added a few new things, but the reason I'm playing it is that it is Left 4 Dead. They're making no bones about that, making the name reflecting, hey, this is Left 4 Dead. We just don't own the IP, and I think that's phenomenal. Back 4 Blood is landing on PC, PS5, Xbox Series X, PS4, and Xbox One October 12th. And number 2 is Age of Empires 4. Now, I am not going into Age of Empires 4 expecting this to be a revolution. I'm expecting it to be the next Age of Empires game. I'm expecting them, because of the length of time in between these games, not to reinvent the wheel, but rather reintroduce us to a very popular series that, in terms of real-time strategy and city building, world building, etc., is just top of the class. I think if we understand that this is what Age of Empires 4 is intended to be, I think we can be a lot more fair in judging it, because I'm sure that there are people who are expecting this to come in and totally reinvent the genre. I doubt that. I could be wrong. They may do that. I don't know. But I haven't seen anything that really indicates that's the direction they're going in. And to be frank, the definitive editions that they've released have indicated they know what people like. And that's what I'm there for. I think this is going to be great, honestly. I think it's going to be a nice aesthetic upgrade, probably some mechanical upgrades, but it's going to be Age of Empires, and really that's what I'm buying a ticket for at the door anyways, and I will be doing just that on October 28th when it lands on PC. And finally, at number 1 is Far Cry 6, what is looking like a fairly epic tale they're attempting to tell of a dictator in a Caribbean country, his son, and the rebellion that is working to overthrow him. The rebellion, which will be aided by animal allies. That's going to be fun. Honestly, this looks like an interesting update to the game. They've done a number of things to try to demonstrate a quote-unquote next-gen look to it, but I also like that they got the actor who plays Gus Fring from Breaking Bad to be the dictator. I think that's a really good casting choice, and I'm of course going to play Far Cry 6. It's coming to PC, the PlayStations, the Xboxes, and it's coming on October 7th. A few bonus games for you as well. First, the Crysis Remastered Trilogy. Of course, we're kind of most interested in the original Crysis game being remastered, but I definitely wouldn't mind taking a spin of the other two. These were fun games, the first one obviously being the best. That should be pretty interesting to see as a quote-unquote remastered title. That's landing on PC, the PlayStations, the Xboxes, and it's landing October 15th. Then how can we not mention Alan Wake Remastered, such a classic title, mystery, supernatural stuff that is setup events for the game Control, and it's reasonable to assume that in fact we will be seeing more from Alan Wake in the future as well, given how things have played out. I can't wait to play Alan Wake again, honestly. It's landing on PC, the PlayStations, the Xboxes, and it's landing October 5th. That is all for today. Leave us a comment, let us know what you think. If you like this video, click like. If you're not subscribed, now's a great time to do so. We upload brand new videos every day of the week. Best way to see them first is of course a subscription, so click subscribe. Don't forget to enable all notifications, and as always, we thank you very much for watching this video. I'm Falcon. You can follow me on Twitter at Falcon the Hero. We'll see you next time right here on gameranx.